Ladies and gentlemen, listen, everyone wants motivation. They want to feel good, inspired, fired up. But let me tell you the truth nobody wants to hear. Motivation is a liar. You feel good, you go to the gym. You feel lazy, you skip it. Motivation is that initial fire most people rely on to start something. A workout routine, a business, a project, a goal. It's the spark that feels good, that gets you hyped, that makes you believe for a moment that you've finally turned a corner in life. But here's what people don't realize. Motivation dies. It always does. It fades when you're tired, when you're bored, when results take too long, or when life punches you in the face. That's why the majority quit. They started on motivation, and when motivation vanished, so did their effort. That's a dangerous way to live, waiting for feelings to align with your goals. The real power, the real weapon, is discipline. Discipline is what's left when motivation runs out. It's the part of you that shows up anyway. Discipline doesn't care about emotions because it doesn't operate on feelings. It operates on command, on commitment. On cold, calculated action. Discipline is built, not gifted. It's not natural for most. It's earned by doing things you hate to do consistently until they become part of your identity. It's forged in discomfort. That's what makes it superior. You see, motivation is something external, a speech, a song, a mood, a video, but discipline, that's internal. That's what you fall back on when the music is off, the lights are out, and nobody is cheering for you. Ask anyone who's successful, truly successful, not just online with a rented car, but someone who's built an empire, transformed their body, rebuilt their mindset. They'll tell you they didn't feel like doing the work most days. But they did it anyway. Why? Because they weren't relying on inspiration. They were ruled by discipline. They programmed themselves like machines. Wake up, execute. Eat clean, execute. Study, train, hustle, execute. No emotion, just obligation. And the truth is, when you start practicing discipline, everything changes. At first it's hell, you'll hate it. You'll fight your own mind. Your feelings will scream for comfort. But once you endure that phase and stick with it, something shifts. You stop negotiating with yourself. You start doing without overthinking. And that's when the game changes. That's when success starts to compound. Because every disciplined action is a seed. You don't see the tree today, but it's growing underground, and one day it breaks through the surface. And now you're that person others admire. You're the one with the results. Not because you were more talented, but because you were disciplined. Most people confuse motivation with progress. They feel good, so they think they're winning. But the truth is, motivation is just a feeling. And feelings are unreliable. If you let feelings run your life, you will never be consistent. And if you're not consistent, you will never be successful. That's not an opinion. It's a law. Look around. Motivation is everywhere. Videos, music, quotes, influencers. People consume hours of it and still never change. Why? Because consumption is easy. Discipline is execution. And execution is what moves the needle. It's what pays you. It's what sculpts your physique, builds your business, earns you freedom. Discipline is the antidote to excuses. It doesn't matter if you're tired, busy, anxious, unmotivated. Discipline doesn't care. It still gets you up. It still pushes you to the gym. It still sits you down in front of your work. And that's why it's dangerous. Because when you become disciplined, you become untouchable. You stop depending on energy or excitement, and you start depending on your own self-control. You become your own power source. This is what separates the top 1% from the rest. Not more passion, not better motivation, but more discipline. Discipline is why soldiers win wars. It's why CEOs grow empires. It's why champions win consistently. They're not more inspired. They're more locked in. They do the work even when their minds beg them to quit. And the best part, the more disciplined you become, the less you even need motivation. Your mind transforms. It becomes used to doing what's necessary. And that creates real confidence because you now trust yourself. You know that no matter what happens, no matter how low you feel, you'll still act. That's the highest level of self-respect, doing what's hard because it's required, not because it feels good. So remember this, motivation might start the engine, but discipline keeps the machine running. And in this world, only the machines win. The ones who operate day in and day out, who don't wait, who don't feel sorry for themselves, who don't chase motivation like junkies. They build systems, they follow through. They execute. Discipline isn't louder than motivation. It's quieter, but it's more dangerous, because while motivation fades by noon, discipline keeps marching until the job is done. The world is full of people who wait until they feel like it. They say they'll start the gym when they're in the right headspace. They'll build their business when they're more confident. They'll begin the project once they're inspired. This is why most people stay average. They wait for a feeling to give them permission to act. But that's not how high-performers operate. That's not how champions think. Real winners act regardless of how they feel. Winners understand that feelings are irrelevant. What matters is action, and action must happen with or without emotional permission. There are days when you wake up tired, days when you're stressed, overwhelmed, uncertain, days when everything in you screams for rest, for comfort, for delay. That's when the average person takes a break. That's when they justify skipping the work. But the winner, he gets up anyway, he shows up anyway, because his commitment isn't to his feelings, it's to his mission. Understand something: if you can only act when you feel good, you will never accomplish anything meaningful. Because the path to greatness is paved with discomfort. It's built on repetition. It's built on doing the same difficult thing over and over, even when it's not exciting anymore. That's what makes a man dangerous. His ability to move forward when it's hard. His ability to push when everything says stop. Everyone is motivated when things are going well, when the sun's out, the money's flowing, the body's improving, and people are clapping. But what happens when the applause stops? When the results plateau, when the grind becomes lonely, that's where most people disappear. They start looking for new motivation. They start switching paths, chasing dopamine instead of staying disciplined. That's weakness disguised as self-care. You don't need a new plan. You need to toughen up. Winners don't care if it's raining or if they're sore or if they're in a bad mood. Winners have a job to do, and they do it. That's what separates professionals from amateurs. The amateur looks for energy. The professional brings it. The amateur waits for perfect conditions. The professional adapts. It's not about being robotic. It's about being relentless. It's about being committed to your future more than your comfort. Some people spend their whole lives trying to feel motivated enough to begin. Others get started, stay consistent, and get results while the rest are still thinking. Action always beats intention, and the longer you wait for a feeling to give you permission, the longer you delay your progress. You'll wake up in 5 years still stuck in the same place, full of potential and excuses. Let me give it to you straight. Your emotions are not in charge. You are. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel energized. You need to act, because the act of doing creates momentum, and momentum creates results. You don't wait for motivation. You move, and motivation follows. Motion first, emotion second. This mindset builds resilience. It teaches you how to win under pressure. When you train yourself to act without needing motivation, you become unshakable. Whether it's business, fitness, studying, or building discipline, it all comes down to your ability to ignore the voice that says, "Not today." That voice is a liar. That voice wants weakness. You must silence it with execution. The truth is, your feelings are soft. They want ease, comfort, familiarity, but the life you want, the money, the body, the respect, the freedom, it lives in difficulty. You don't get there by listening to your mood. You get there by dominating your mood. That's the secret most people will never learn. Greatness has nothing to do with how you feel. It has everything to do with what you choose to do regardless. People think winners have more motivation. No, winners have more control. They've mastered themselves. They've trained their minds to do the work even when it sucks. That's the edge. That's why they keep winning. That's why they're respected. Because they don't need to be in the mood to be excellent. And here's the kicker. The more often you act without feeling like it, the stronger you become. Your mind becomes sharper. Your will becomes harder. You stop giving in to weakness, and eventually what once required force becomes automatic. You don't even think about skipping. You don't question the process, you just move. That's when the transformation happens. Not just physically, but mentally. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to be in the perfect mood. Stop chasing motivation like a drug. Instead, make a decision. Decide that your goals are non-negotiable. Decide that your commitment is stronger than your emotions. Because every time you choose action over comfort, you level up. Every time you push through without feeling like it, you rise above the masses. Routine, it's the most underrated force behind every great success story. Not talent, not luck, not even motivation. Routine. The repetitive, unsexy, disciplined process of doing the same thing over and over again, especially when it's boring, is what creates greatness. But most people run from boredom. They chase excitement. They look for stimulation in everything they do, and that's why they never build anything solid, because success isn't exciting 95% of the time. It's routine, it's structure, it's control. Everyone talks about wanting the results, the money, the freedom, the body, the mindset. But the reality is, those results don't come from motivation. They come from showing up day after day, no matter how repetitive the task may feel. You see, motivation is like a sugar high. It hits quick. It gets you moving, but it wears off just as fast. Routine is different. It's stable. It's sustainable. It becomes who you are, not just what you do when you're in the mood. When you build a routine, you eliminate the need to make constant decisions. You reduce the daily mental negotiation. There's no "should I do it today?" because the answer is always yes. It's just what you do. The gym at 6 a.m. isn't a choice. It's the standard. Work at 9 a.m. isn't negotiable. It's a locked system. That's how you win. Systems outperform moods, and boring consistency beats emotional highs every time. The truth is, routine builds identity. When you wake up and follow your structure, even when you're tired, even when life is chaotic, you reinforce who you are. You tell your mind, "I am someone who does what's required." That message, repeated daily, rewires your brain. It turns discipline into default, and once you reach that level, you become dangerous, because now the work isn't optional. It's automatic. People think routines are restrictive. That's the lie. Routines are liberating. When you build structure into your life, you create clarity. You remove distractions. You remove overthinking. You're no longer a slave to emotion or spontaneity. You become focused, efficient, ruthless. That's what routine does. It removes the noise and sharpens your execution. The highest performers in the world live by routine. Athletes, CEOs, soldiers, artists, they've all built repeatable systems for success. Why? Because they understand that talent alone is worthless without consistency, and consistency only comes from discipline locked into routine. Anyone can be good for a day, anyone can grind for a week, but to be elite, you have to perform at a high level for years, and that kind of endurance only comes from routine. You don't build a great body by doing a random workout whenever you feel like it. You build it by hitting the same lifts, the same reps, the same nutrition every single day. You don't build a successful business by working sporadically. You build it by following a schedule, sticking to priorities, showing up relentlessly, even when it's tedious. The grind is not glamorous. It's repetition, it's systems, it's showing up when there's no hype, no praise, no instant reward. It's trusting the process when the process feels like it's moving at a crawl. Most people can't handle that. They get bored, they chase new routines, they chase trends, and so they stay stuck, constantly starting, never finishing. If you can fall in love with routine, you become unstoppable. If you can train yourself to find pride and power in doing the same thing better every day, you're already ahead of 99% of people, because most are chasing novelty while you're stacking mastery. That's the real edge. That's where results come from. Think about this. If you repeated one you activity every day for 365 days, focused, disciplined, deliberate, you'd transform in body, mind, and bank account. But the problem is, people quit before the compounding kicks in. They abandon routine just before the breakthrough, all because it didn't feel exciting enough. Forget exciting. Chase effective. Build systems that remove guesswork. Build routines that eliminate weakness. and then execute them every day without fail. You want freedom, it's not found in chaos, it's built through structure. You want power, it's not found in hype, it's earned through routine. It's not the person who trains hardest once that wins, it's the person who trains well every day. It's not the entrepreneur who has a burst of inspiration, it's the one who works the boring systems, optimizes the dull spreadsheets, makes the same calls over and over. That's what creates separation. So stop glorifying motivation, stop looking for things to hype you up. Start building systems, start building routine, and then, most importantly, protect it. Your routine is your engine, keep it fueled. Keep it sacred, because the world doesn't reward talent, it rewards consistency, and consistency is born in the boring, built by discipline, and powered by routine. Most people don't understand this, but discipline isn't just about restriction, it's about freedom. It's counterintuitive, but the more disciplined you become, the more control you gain over your life. People associate discipline with being trapped, with being rigid, with having no fun. But the truth is, it's the undisciplined who are truly trapped by cravings, by distractions, by inconsistency, by regret. Discipline isn't a prison. It's the key that unlocks the life you say you want. When you're disciplined, you don't waste time wondering what to do. You don't spend energy fighting against your own laziness. You don't have to recover from poor choices because you don't make them. You're locked in, you're intentional, you're in charge. That's real freedom, having command over your actions, your mind, your time. Let's break it down. Someone without discipline lives reactively. They eat what they crave. They skip workouts when they're tired. They spend money impulsively. They scroll when they should be building. Their life is a constant reaction to their emotions and urges, and that kind of life, it's chaotic. It's stressful, it's unstable, they may think they're free because they have no rules, but they're actually prisoners to their impulses. Now contrast that with someone who's built discipline. They have a routine. They know when they wake up, when they work, when they train, when they rest. They don't negotiate with their mind every day. They don't rely on motivation to take action. That structure gives them control. And that control gives them leverage over life. If you don't control your habits control you, and most people are being run by bad ones. Poor diet, poor thinking, poor financial choices, poor time management. They wonder why they're unhappy, anxious, or stuck, and the answer is simple. They haven't taken control. They haven't accepted that freedom has a price, and that price is discipline. Discipline gives you clarity. When you operate on a structured path, you eliminate distractions. You don't waste time chasing instant gratification. You focus on what matters. That kind of focus compounds over weeks, months, years. You separate yourself from everyone else. That's why disciplined people rise. That's why they win. Not because they're special, but because they do what needs to be done consistently, while others look for shortcuts. Want financial freedom? You need discipline with money. That means saying no to every impulse buy, resisting consumer addiction, investing smart, and delaying gratification. Want freedom with your body? You need discipline in the gym, discipline with your food, discipline with rest. Want mental freedom? You need discipline with your thoughts, your information intake, your environment. Everything worth having demands a price, and discipline is the currency. And here's the thing, discipline actually makes life easier, not harder. Once you develop it, you remove 90% of the friction that most people deal with daily. You don't argue with yourself over whether to train, you just train. You don't debate whether to work, you work. You don't collapse under pressure because you've already hardened yourself through consistency. Your discipline becomes your shield. It protects your goals, your health, your peace of mind. There's a false idea out there that discipline kills joy, but in reality, discipline protects your joy. It protects your energy, your confidence, your purpose. It allows you to live life on your terms, because once you have discipline, you don't need to be rescued. You don't need people to push you or motivate you or fix your messes. You're self-governed. That's freedom. Think about the man who's in control of his time, his body, his money, his emotions. He's dangerous. He's not easily manipulated. He's not living in chaos. He doesn't need external validation because his results speak for themselves. That's who you should aim to be. Not the guy who's always chasing motivation, always starting over, always needing a reason to act, but the one who built systems, stuck to them, and earned real power through repetition. Discipline turns you into a weapon. It makes you lethal in a world full of weak minds and excuses. It creates stability in uncertain times. It separates you from the average because the average man is a slave to his feelings. You become unshakable, and here's the part people overlook. The more disciplined you are, the more freedom you earn later. You work hard now, so you don't have to suffer forever. You delay gratification now, so you can enjoy abundance for life. That's real power, not indulging every urge in the moment, but building something permanent that pays you back for years. So if you want freedom, real, lasting, fulfilling freedom, it starts with discipline. Build it brick by brick, hour by hour, hold the line when it gets boring, stay sharp when no one's watching, ignore the noise, stick to the system, and own every action you take. Because the man who masters discipline masters everything. In life, results are the ultimate judge, not your intentions, not your excuses, not even how hard you tried. The world doesn't care why you didn't follow through. It doesn't care how tired you were, how busy you felt, or how many things got in your way. It only sees the outcome. That's the brutal truth. It's cold, it's harsh, but it's fair, because in the real world, results are everything, and the only thing that delivers consistent results is discipline. You can talk about your goals all day, you can post about your vision board, your new routine, your desire to level up, but talk is cheap. No one respects effort without execution. You can have the most perfect plan, the most ambitious dreams, but if you don't do the work every day, none of it matters. The world respects action, it respects consistency, it respects those who show up day after day without fail. Not just when it's convenient, not just when it feels good, but especially when it's hard. Excuses are invisible to the scoreboard. You can explain to yourself 1,000 times why you skipped the gym, why you missed the opportunity, why you didn't make that move. You can convince yourself you had good reasons, but the scoreboard doesn't move, the mirror doesn't change, the bank account doesn't grow. The excuses might feel good in the moment, but they leave you empty. Because deep down you know the truth. You didn't deliver, you didn't do what was required. Discipline eliminates excuses. It replaces "I'll do it later" with "I'm doing it now." It removes the negotiation. It doesn't care about how you feel, it cares about what gets done, and when you live that way, when you hold yourself to that standard, results start to appear, slowly at first, then all at once, because discipline has a compound effect. It builds momentum, and once you get that momentum, everything starts to shift. People will say you're lucky. They'll say it was easy for you. What they won't see is the months or years of silent, consistent effort behind the scenes. They won't see the 5 a.m. way, cups, the sacrifices, the loneliness, the discipline to say no when everyone else was saying yes. But that's fine, because your results will speak louder than their opinions. Your results will shut every mouth that ever doubted you, including your own. Too many people spend their whole life trying to be understood, trying to explain why they haven't made it yet, trying to justify their setbacks. Stop explaining, start executing. Your job is not to make the world understand your struggle, it's to overcome it. Your job is to win, not to seek sympathy. Winners don't need sympathy, winners need systems. They need discipline, they need output. That's what earns respect. That's what changes your life. You don't get a trophy for almost. You don't get paid for planning. You don't build legacy with intentions. You build it with results. And to get results, you need to get ruthless with yourself. You need to stop letting yourself off the hook. You need to set a standard and live by it, regardless of what life throws at you. Discipline is the tool that separates dreamers from doers. It's what takes someone with average talent and puts them ahead of someone with natural gifts, because talent without discipline is useless, drive without execution is pointless. The guy who shows up every single day with a work ethic will always outperform the guy who works in emotional bursts. Consistency beats intensity every time, and when you truly understand this, you stop getting emotional about the process. You stop asking why me and start asking what now. You stop looking for motivation and start building structure. You stop needing praise and start respecting yourself for staying disciplined. That's when everything changes, because your self-worth no longer comes from other people. It comes from knowing you show up. It comes from knowing you follow through. It comes from the results you earn through your own effort. No one owes you anything, not recognition, not support, not understanding. The world owes you nothing but an opportunity. And that opportunity is earned through discipline. Every excuse you make is a decision to stay where you are. Every time you let yourself off the hook, you're proving that your comfort matters more than your goals. But when you become the kind of person who shows up no matter what, when you become the kind of person who is ruled by discipline, not emotion, you become powerful. People start to notice. Doors begin to open. Success becomes inevitable, not because it was handed to you, but because you earned it, brick by brick, day by day, and that's what this is all about, not being perfect, not having the most talent, but doing the work. Being relentless, showing up, delivering, getting results, because in the end the world doesn't respect excuses, it respects execution, and execution is the child of discipline. So what does this all come down to? It comes down to this: discipline is the foundation of greatness. Motivation may light the fire, but discipline keeps it burning long after the hype is gone. You can chase motivation your whole life and never build anything. Or you can develop discipline and build everything you've ever dreamed of. The money, the body, the business, the freedom, the mindset, it all lives on the other side of discipline. The truth is simple. You either control your habits or your habits control you. You either master your emotions or your emotions master you. You either do the work or you make excuses. There's no in between. Discipline means acting when you're tired. It means showing up when no one's watching. It means choosing routine over comfort, purpose over pleasure, execution over emotion. This is how real winners are made, not in bursts of excitement, but in the silence of repetition, not in rare moments of energy, but in daily acts of consistency. That's how you become unstoppable, because when motivation dies, discipline takes over, and when discipline takes over, nothing can stop you. So stop waiting to feel ready, stop needing to be inspired. And start becoming the kind of person who acts anyway, who shows up anyway, who gets it done every damn day, because success is no longer optional. Discipline, motivation, always. Now go prove it.